This is a serious problem, Brian. It looks like the house is literally cracking in half here with the mortar falling out of the crack and the crack down here in the foundation. What's going on?
Well, Gary, this corner of the house is actually settling. This is the garage part of the house, and you can see from this crack that literally transfers all the way up through into the top part of the house.
So the house is literally cracking in half. It's falling down.
It sure is.
All right, now what are you going to do to solve this problem?
Well, what we're going to do is a process called steel piering. This is where we actually are going to drive a steel pier down and put this foundation back on bedrock.
All right, well, let's start the process. I guess there's a little bit of engineering involved here.
Right.
Tell me about exactly how it's going to take place.
Well, first thing we're going to do is we're going to establish the elevation of the house by taking some shots around so that we know exactly how high we're going to try to lift this house back up, to the right elevation.
Okay.
Then the actual crews start to work. And what we do is we'll dig a small square hole big enough to put our piering system in against the foundation.
And that's a good point, too, because a lot of landscaping isn't destroyed because you really contain the size of these holes.
Right. We keep the holes very small, and we put the dirt right on top of a tarp, and then we can cover that up to protect it during any, bad
Great.
weather.
All right, so we got the holes dug. Is this when we do the fun part?
Yeah. This is the part where we're going to chip off part of the footing, okay, and we're going to mount a steel bracket right to that footing. Then we're going to put what's called a hydraulic ram on top of that, and we're going to drive a steel pipe down through the top of that bracket, and that's going to go right down to bedrock.
Now, how far do we have to drive that pipe?
It depends on different areas. Some places it might be very shallow, others are very deep.
Really? So we're talking maybe 20, 30 feet deep sometimes?
Oh, yes.
All right. Now, this pipe and these brackets, you're not going to go to your local hardware store to pick these up. You actually manufacture these.
Yes, this is our own patented product that we manufacture in our facility, and it's all very high technical, and we use some of the most sophisticated equipment to build it.
All right, so after we have the bracket on, we have the pipe down. What's our next step?
Our next step is to have a meeting that we coordinate with all of our employees on exactly how we're going to lift this building. Safety is our number one concern on all projects, and we do have a safety director who comes around to make sure that all jobs are being done safe. And each person will watch and monitor their area and will lift this house back up by putting this hydraulic pressure.
Very good. One other area on this house I noticed is actually where it meets the garage. There's no footer here.
No, what they did is they used the grade beam principle where it's not really sitting on any firm ground, and in a lot of cases that foundation will fail right there, so we use what's called an angle bracket that we're going to slide underneath that grade beam to hold it.
Okay. Now, after we've had our meeting, how about the process of lifting it?
Well, what we'll do is we will actually pressurize all of these rams at one time.
Okay.
And the house will begin to move, and then when we see that we've reached that right elevation, we drill a bolt into that actual steel pipe, and that will hold it.
And that'll hold it.
Yes.
And that'll actually close these cracks and close these gaps, and at that point, I guess you're pretty well set. This house is going to be stabilized and good to go.
Yes, the house is stabilized, and the homeowner can make any repairs that he wants to any paint or mortar that
any cosmetic repair.
Right.
Very good. Looks great.